Okay, so today I'm going to discuss a couple of concepts. I missed a couple days, which I normally never do that streaming. I should always just do it when I drive, but I thought, oh, maybe I'll have time later, and then I end up not having time. So doing it when I'm driving is the best because it's a net positive. Like, you know, if I'm not doing anything anyway, I may as well, and then, you know, it just kind of guarantees that I'll be able to do it. And so what we're going to discuss here is basically just, you know, the ways in which people are controlled in their everyday lives and the way in which they embrace that. The stimuli acme is a good example that goes back a long ways because what happened... Well, first let's look at this concept here of the idea of like value by preconceived notion or something like that. So pretend you're like aware of everything or you're like objectively standard based. But you wouldn't define value by appearances because you wouldn't need appearances. You would just let reality speak for itself. Or you wouldn't need like whatever, just you wouldn't need appearances because you let reality speak itself, or you wouldn't need what great timing it is. That seemed like hail, not rain. Like, what the fuck is that? Isolated hail moment. But it's a situation where, what was I saying? You wouldn't need appearances or you wouldn't need any of that. You know, the way that you're controlled by it is like you take some inherent reality of the world and you reduce it to a half-mass state, your inherent nature even to a half-mass state. So it's like this revisionist history of people, and then you're controlled by it at a half-mass, which is odd because it's like, you know, animals engage in the reproductive process, and so do we, but we reduce it to some other framing. We say, oh no, it's not just a natural normal thing. We condemn it or we glorify it, we make it a big deal, and then we control people by it because it's like it would be something they're just naturally free to do and it's no big deal. But instead, we train people to, oh no, you got to base your life around it, you got to make a big deal out of it, we got to, you know, do all this kind of social engineering. So you know, that raises a lot of questions because you know, that it shouldn't be necessary. So I kind of lost my whole train of thought with that hailstorm or whatever. Whatever, like you're controlled by the stimuli acme in the way that you take that inherent, so it's not saying whether you should or shouldn't do it, but it's that framing and glorification that makes it a big deal. That's like, you know, again, creating the socially engineered element here, and it's like, consider there is the fact that, again, there's no meaning or value to it. It's just like the same zero-sum process, or right, you're controlled by a half-mass inherent reality, again, that requires framing, and again, the revisionist history, because that's why just truth and reality are such an obstacle to people, or such a threat to people. If you're aware of your own inherent nature, or of reality and truth, you wouldn't necessarily go along with a specific artificial contrivance state, which relies on that duplicity and stuff. It's like, associate their identity with. That's why it's so effective. So it doesn't matter if it's fallacious. It's like, oh well, you associate your identity with it, so you'll defend it and like that. But you won't be free in an inherent way. It's all sort of part of a curated hierarchy structure as well. So I had like a good idea of what I was going to do at the beginning, but now I totally forgot. But no, you'd have like the objective inherent thing of like where standards meet something else. Like where standards meet like a subversive contrivance incentive, right? So standards or objective reality would be unspecific in that way and wouldn't lead to a hierarchy state. So that's kind of the cognitive dissonance of half-mass human functionalism, is kind of like you have to rationalize and try to reinforce the state that you're in, but nothing really validates the state that you're in. It's just some weird reactionary thing, created in ways that you would condemn, the origin point fallacy, by force, by, whatever, things that you wouldn't be allowed to do now. It's inconsistent, it's selective, right? So you're trying to cope with that false absolute reality that you're in.